Hello friends, welcome to Dr. Ossai Physiology Academy, DOPA for short. This is the place where we make learning of physiology easy, exciting, and effective. Thank you for joining me. If you're new to this channel, you're especially welcome. And if you love the content that we share, kindly click the like button and also the subscribe button. And don't forget to turn on notifications so that you don't get to miss any new content that we drop. Thank you very much. Let's get started. So the third final part of the introduction to physiology, we're going to be dealing with underlying principles of physiology. Now, why underlying principles? Why are we talking about principles? Now, look at when you first start studying a field, okay? This is a new field to those who are just entering 200 level. They're learning something new. It's a new field. When you first start learning something like that in a new field, it feels like you need to memorize and cram so many things. You see a textbook so big like this, and sometimes you get overwhelmed. And you say, wow, how am I going to grapple with all these details and knowledge and information? But do you know the secret? And all those many information you see there like that, they are all related. They are all combinations in different ways of about just few core principles. That's the secret to remembering things. You remember things, you understand things through association. You associate this information with what you already know. So usually in a field like that, you have just about 3 to 12 principles. But in this one, we are going to be talking about 7 underlying core principles of physiology that you need to know and understand. Every other thing in physiology relates to these 7 things. All right, so let's go straight into it. Number 1 underlying principle is that the body functions through multiple control systems that work in opposition to each other, but they are necessary for health and survival. Now, the body functions through multiple control systems. And these systems, we are saying that they work in opposition to each other. What do we mean? Something is opposing each other. That means are they fighting? Are they working at cross purposes? No. This is what happens. When you talk about control system, you are talking about regulation. You remember we talked about life when we defined life in part 1. Go and check it out. That life has to do with systems that function through energy in a self-sustaining way. Okay? So for something to be sustained, it needs to regulate. There needs to be control. That means it is not allowed to go too high. It's not allowed to go too low. It's talking about balance. All right? So 2 forces are involved. One is trying to bring a certain, we call it physiological variable. Let me just give you an example quickly so you understand what I mean by physiological variable. For example, blood pressure is a physiological variable. It's needed to help push blood to every part of the body. But if blood pressure goes too high, there's a problem. If it goes too low, there's a problem. So there are control systems to help regulate it so that when it's trying to go too high, it brings it down. When it's trying to go too low, it brings it up so that it can maintain the ideal value. So that's what this thing is talking about. Underlying is a very important principle of physiology. Control systems to help maintain balance so that things don't go too extreme, either too high or too low. All right? So that's number 1. Then number 2 underlying principle is that the functions of different organs and systems, they are coordinated together. I remember I mentioned it in the part 2 when I said that all those systems that we mentioned, nervous system, reproductive system, respiratory, all of them, they work hand in hand because it is one organism, one body, one purpose. Okay? When different people have one purpose, they have to work together to achieve that purpose. So despite the fact that you have trillions of cells that are organized into tissues, organs, and systems, all of them work together. So to understand physiology, you need to see the relationships. How does cardiovascular system relate with respiratory system? How does respiratory system relate to digestive system? How do they relate? How do they interact to bring about health, survival, reproduction? So that's what this one is talking about. Very important for you to know. The functions of organ systems are coordinated with each other. Okay? So that's number 2. Then number 3, another important principle is this, that communication between cells, tissues, and organs is necessary for the integration of physiological processes. Now, it's related to this second one. Now, for people to work together in a coordinated fashion, what do you think they need to do? There must be communication between them. Without everybody just staying mum, keep quiet, nothing can happen. Do you understand? You need to talk to each other. Just like people in one classroom, they belong to one class, achieving the same purpose, to graduate, to be this, to be biochemists, to be physiologists, to be medical doctors. They have one purpose. They are there for the same similar purpose. So they need to work together. They put them in one WhatsApp group so that they can be getting information, communicating with themselves. So communication is very important in physiology. Communication between cells, tissues, and organs is necessary for integration. Integration of what? Physiological processes. Okay? So that is very important, communication. So even in this general physiology, as we go ahead, we are going to now focus on the aspect of communication. How do cells communicate? We're going to follow. So this is a very important principle that you need to know. Then number 4 is that controlled exchange of materials occur across cellular membranes and between compartments. Controlled exchange of materials occur across cellular membranes. Now, know the cell has membrane. So trillions of cells that make up the body, they have membranes. And for them to interact, for them to receive resources and also give out resources in their relationship with others, those resources, they pass, is like the gateway, the cell membrane. It passes through the cell membrane. But it doesn't just go anyhow. There are principles that underlie and govern that exchange. Or this exchange, we also call it transport. It's part of a major topic we'll still deal with. The principles of transport across cellular membranes and between compartments. So this is a very important principle. Then number 5 states that what? Structure determines function. This is a very strong principle that I love so much. Structure determines function. Okay? In fact, the last three, I love them so much. They're very vital, very important. But before we dwell on them, we're going to take a little break. Join me soon. Right, welcome back. So we are talking about that structure determines function. What do we mean by that? Now, structure, there's something about structure that I need to understand. Structure has to do with the shape of something. Okay? The design, the composition. That's what structure has to do. The shape, the design, and composition. The nature, that's what is it composed of? What substance, what material is it made up of? And these things will determine its function. Let me explain. Now, let's look at these two things. Do they have the same shape? No. The answer is no. Are they composed of the same thing? Now, this body is plastic. This body is plastic. But look at this place. It has a different substance. Okay? This one has a different substance. It has ink. Composition has ink. So, based on the shape is shaped in a way, it is shaped and designed in a way that your hand can fit it, you can hold it. And there is ink with a specific color that enables writing. So the shape, the design, the composition, the substance, material it is made up of is related to its function, its purpose. This one is shaped in a way that you hold it like this. You don't hold this one like this. You hold this one. And you don't hold this one like this. Okay? So the shape is related to function. When there is a destruction, a distortion, a change in the shape of cells, which we talk that it's related to what? Differentiation initially. Check the part 2. Their function changes. Okay? So structure determines function. So that's why before you start studying any system, the mechanisms of its function, first of all, we start learning the structure, both of the cell, of the tissue, or the organ. Okay? The composition, the design. It's very important. And anatomy deals a lot with structure. That's why physiology is very related. It's related to anatomy, even biochemistry. And that leads us to the next principle. Number what? 6. Okay? Number 6 is that physiological processes, what brings about function, are dictated by the laws of physics and chemistry. Physiological processes are dictated by the laws of physics and chemistry. Chemistry has to do with interactions between elements, chemical reactions. Physics has to do with forces, energy. Okay? So an understanding of physics, chemistry, biochemistry, biophysics, and all those things, it helps to give you insight into how things function. So at the basic level, call it molecular level, this is what happens. Forces, energy. You need to understand energy, forces join together to power chemical reactions that now result in all the functions you see. For you to see like this, you are seeing chemical reaction is taking place. When you talk about the physiology of vision, you will see it. Okay? So that's very interesting. That's what happens. That means behind every physiological action, behind every physiological function, there is a chemical reaction that uses energy in a very intelligent manner. Intelligent use of energy to bring about. All right. So that is what is that dictated by the laws of physics and chemistry. Now, the last one we want to mention, number 7, is that proteins are the functional and structural molecules of the body. Proteins, very important, proteins. And the reason why proteins are like that, they're very important. That's why when you're eating animal flesh and meat, it's an important, you're saying you're eating protein, you're taking in protein. When you take true chicken, beef, proteinous, animal body is made up of mainly of protein. Proteins are very important. You're going to be looking at all the functions, both transportation, exchange, communication, so many things. The structure and function at the molecular level. Okay? When you are learning about chemical reaction and all these processes, you're going to be learning about different things that bring about those processes. They are made up of proteins. And because proteins, they have primary structure, secondary structure, tertiary structure, quaternary structure. Quaternary and tertiary structure have to do with the shape. So they can change shape based on different conditions. For example, maybe there's a change in temperature. The shape will change. There's a change in this, shape will change. All those change of shape leads to a physiological process that enables the function you see outside. So that's very important. So these are basically 7 underlying principles of physiology. Meditate on them, understand them. And as we go ahead, learning other parts of physiology, we'll keep recalling this so that it will stick. And then you understand. Once you understand this, everything in physiology becomes easy for you. So I've written a book in general physiology, made ridiculously simple. All these things are there for further reading. And also other books in physiology, 6 other books, 7 of them in total at the time of this shooting. Okay, so you can get them. There's a link, there are links in the description box, links to download the soft copy, and also link to also get the hard copy and purchase the hard copy, and so on. The links are there that will direct you on where to go to do all that. All right. So you also have a link there linking to our website where there's a lot of information on other things we do to make the learning of physiology easy, exciting, and effective. See you in the next video.